Hello and welcome to the Peel Halton Local Employment Planning Council's Labour Market Information webinar. This webinar is the second in our educational outreach sessions and is titled Trends. My name is Andrea Lenfesti and I am the Communications Specialist for the Peel Halton Workforce Development Group. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get into the webinar. We really want to hear from you today and we want to make sure your voice is in the conversation. So ask any questions, share comments, even challenge our ideas. Use the question and answer panel on the right side of your GoToWebinar player to share at any time during the webinar. I will be monitoring this space as we go along, and we will answer all questions at the end of the webinar. Please ensure that your screen is maximized, and you may want to minimize or hide the GoToWebinar control panel in order to see the full screen. There is an arrow button at the top left of the toolbar. So if you click on that, you should have a better view of my screen. We will also be asking a couple poll questions during today's webinar. These will pop up right on your screen and they'll be throughout the webinar. Okay, at this point, I'd like to introduce you to our in-house researchers so we can go right into our content. Good morning, Ella.
Hi, Andrea.
Ella Shadpour is a researcher and analyst with the Peel Halton Local Employment Planning Council. Ella completed her master's degree in business economics at Wilfrid Laurier University. Previously, she was working at Ryerson University as a research associate. She has 4 years of experience in economic research, market research, data analysis, and modeling. Okay, take it away, Ella.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is the outline of today's webinar. We will start with describing the National Occupational Classification, or NOC. Then we will introduce NOC categories and subcategories. After that, we will explain how to use job data in career planning, and we will bring some examples of job characteristic data. And at the end, we will go through the limitations of job characteristic data. In our previous webinar, we learned about the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS. To review, NAICS is a framework for grouping businesses, which means businesses that are doing similar or related activities are categorized as one industry sector, such as manufacturing, retail trade, or healthcare and social assistance. There's another framework or system for grouping jobs that is known as National Occupational Classification, or NOC. In this system, similar jobs or roles are classified into one occupational category, such as business and finance. In the next slide, we will see more examples. This table illustrates the main categories of NOC. All jobs are classified in one of these 10 categories. For example, 2 of these categories are natural and applied sciences occupations and sales and service occupations. Next slide will show some examples of subcategories in each of these 10 occupational classifications. Here we see how jobs are categorized based on NOC. For example, accountants and business management consultants are the subcategories of business, finance, and administration occupations. And bakers and insurance agents are under sales and service category, or civil engineers and information system analysts are the subcategories of natural and applied sciences. Besides these jobs, we have some roles, such as bank managers or human resource or HR managers, that are under management category. Now that we have learned about occupational categories and subcategories, let's look at the job data and trends. This table compares the number of jobs in 2013 and 2015 across healthcare and social assistance and manufacturing industries in Brampton, which is a city in Peel region, and Halton Hills, which is a town in Halton region. As you may note, the number of manufacturing jobs decreased in both locations. with larger decline in Brampton, whereas number of healthcare jobs decreased in Halton Hills and increased in Brampton. Comparing the number of jobs in these two industries shows that manufacturing is a larger source of job in both locations. In the next slide, we will see how to calculate the percentage change or growth rate in number of jobs. In order to calculate the percentage change or growth rate, we should compare same type of data from different points in time. For example, in this table, we have number of jobs for 2013 and 2015 in healthcare and social assistance industry. To calculate the growth rate, we should subtract the data for 2015, which is newer data, from the data for 2013, which is older data. Then the result, which is 67 in this example, should be divided by the 2013 number. The final result can be presented in percentage, which is 0.6% in this case. In our first webinar, we showed the unemployment rate across industries. Here, we are presenting unemployment rate across occupations. Among 4 occupational categories we presented in this graph, health occupations have the lowest, and trade, transport, and equipment operators occupations have the highest unemployment rate in Ontario. So far, we have learned about National Occupational Classification, job trends, and unemployment rate by occupations. Now, how can we use this information in our career planning? When planning for a career path, we need to gather job data specific to our industry of interest in more than one area and at different points in time. To elaborate on this, let's bring an example. If someone is interested in pursuing a career in healthcare and social assistance, he or she should gather data about health occupations in more than one location, such as Brampton, Halton Hills, or Oakville, and at different points in time, such as 2013 and 2015, to discover trends. According to this graph, healthcare occupations are growing in Oakville, which means higher chance of landing in health position compared to other locations. Additionally, referring back to the previous slide, health occupations have low unemployment rate and are stable, so the chance of losing a job in this sector is lower compared to other industries. There are 3 steps that need to be followed in the career planning stage. First, you should ask yourself, what type of job do I like to have? Second, you should find data about the job and the industry you want to work in. There are different sources that you can obtain data about local and provincial jobs and industry trends, such as regional and municipal employment surveys, Statistics Canada's labor force surveys, and the employment profile on the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development. And at the end, you should analyze the trends and see if your sector of interest is growing or how the unemployment rate at that sector is changing. We have learned new things about job data. Now it's time for our first comprehension question. A friend who lives in Brampton wants to work in manufacturing sector. However, she noticed that the number of manufacturing jobs in Brampton decreased between 2013 and 2015. Your friend wants some advice on pursuing work in manufacturing. What would you suggest to her? A. Specify what she wants to do in manufacturing. B. Forget about manufacturing and focus on other sectors. C. Gather the relevant job data based on her specific interest. D. Job growth does not say much about work opportunities. E. Look at the manufacturing sector trends in other areas. F. A, C, and E are all correct. G. A and E are correct. You have 1 minute to answer this question, and we will go through the results after that. Okay, the answer is F. A, C, and E are all correct. First, you should ask your friend what she wants to do in manufacturing. Second, you should gather relevant job data. And third, you should analyze manufacturing trends in more than one area. Okay, now I pass it over to Andrea.
Okay, this is the first poll question that we have for you today. How many people out there got that answer correct? Just give you a couple seconds to answer. Okay, excellent. 94% got that answer correct. Good job. Okay, we'll just move on to the next slide. So Ella has defined occupational categories for us, and now we are going to explore occupational subcategories. An occupational subcategory is a part of the larger occupational category or family. For example, within the health occupational category, we have the subcategories of professional occupations in nursing and technical occupations in health, like ultrasounds, x-rays, and radiation therapy. Likewise, within the trades, transport and equipment operator category, we have industrial, electrical, and construction trades, for example, iron workers. To reiterate, a subcategory is a section or part of the larger category. We're currently looking at a full table of job characteristic data, but we will go through this big table one column at a time. In the first two columns of the table on the previous slide, we are presented with the average hourly wage and growth data, where growth refers to the number of employees in a subcategory or profession. The first two columns contain labor force survey data at the occupational subcategory level. The data in the first column and the graph below tells us that higher hourly wages are associated with professional occupations in nursing, for example, registered nurses or RNs, rather than technical occupations in health, like medical radiation technologists or industrial, electrical, and construction trades. The graph below illustrates that professional occupations in nursing and industrial, electrical, and construction trades grew faster than technical occupations in health. At this time, we want to point out that recent city or town level labor force survey data is not available. The data in the third and fourth columns of our big table provides us with 2015 to 2024 Canada-wide estimates of job openings and job seekers. This data came from the Canadian Occupational Projection System, or COPS. COPS data differs from labor force survey data in that it may focus on one job or a few jobs within an occupational subcategory, such as registered nurses, the cluster of health technologists, like medical radiation technologists and cardiopulmonary technologists, or the cluster of machining and metal forming workers, for example, iron workers. Job openings and job seekers determine labor shortages. In other words, labor shortages occur when job openings outnumber job seekers. The graph we're looking at right now shows that there will be a major shortage of registered nurses, or RNs, and almost minimal shortages of health technologists and machining and metal forming workers. As Canada's senior population grows, the number of RN openings will greatly exceed the number of RN job candidates. We also want to point out that COPS data does not go to the provincial, city, or town level. We have gone through occupational subcategories as well as the job characteristics of average hourly pay, growth, and predicted labor shortages. From this exploration, we can identify 3 principles for applying job characteristic data. Firstly, look at the average hourly wage and growth in your occupational subcategory. Secondly, you may have to extrapolate from provincial or Canada-wide job data due to the lack of city or town level data. Lastly, look at predicted or estimated labor shortages so that you are aware of the employment opportunities in any given profession. Okay, we've just been introduced to a lot of material, so we're going to check our understanding of job characteristic data. Here's another question for you. Another friend of yours from Oakville is interested in nursing. She knows the educational requirements for work as a registered nurse, or RN, but she wants your advice on the types of data she will need to plan a career. What would you suggest to her? A, the labor force participation rate in Oakville. B, the healthcare and social assistance industry trends in Oakville and neighboring municipalities. C, the wage data for the RN profession. D, the unemployment and labor force participation rates in the province of Ontario. E, the labor shortage data for the RN profession. F, B, C, and E, or G, A, and C. Again, we'll give you a couple minutes here to come up with your answer. Okay, the correct answer is F, B, C, and E, because career planning requires job and industry-specific job data. A career begins with finding a job and thinking strategically about the next steps in our professional growth. Okay, I'm just going to launch the second poll question for you and see how many people got that right. Okay, thanks for voting. 93% who answered got that answer correct. Great job. Okay, we will now revisit the main ideas from today's webinar. The National Occupational Classification is a system for categorizing jobs. Career planning requires job data from different years and locations. Trends are patterns of increase or decrease over time. Job characteristic data refers to variables such as the wage rate and labor shortage in a profession. Okay, we'll just check in and see if there are any questions today for our researcher. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Ella, I have a question for you. How can we match industry classification with occupational categories to find relevant job data?
Okay, it's a very good question. The categories in North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS, are quite different from National Occupational Classification, or NOC. And we cannot match industries and occupation categories exactly. Let me bring an example. An accountant or a cleaner working in a hospital has a job classified under healthcare and social assistance industry. However, in terms of occupational categories, their positions are not categorized as health occupations. The examples of health occupations are like medical doctors or nurses. The accountant's position falls under business, finance, and administration occupational category, and cleaners is categorized under sale and service category. So we cannot match the healthcare and social assistance occupation and the industry and the health occupations exactly. In order to find the accurate and relevant job data, we need to research the subcategories of NOC and find the exact or at least the relevant occupations we want.
Okay, thanks, Ella. We also have a question from I can't see it here on my toolbar. I think it's from Sarah. Will the slides for this presentation be available after the webinar? The slides won't be available, but the webinar will be available on demand at the Peel Halton Local Employment Planning Council website. We can send a link to everybody attending today, and the website address is www.peelhaltonlepc.com. Thanks, Sarah. And then Ella, there was one other question here. Let me just find it for you. My son is in high school and wants to have a career in computer science. How can the National Occupational Classification help me to guide him? That's a great question.
Yes, there's great source of information about labor market in Ontario Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development, which called Ontario Job Future. If you just Google Ontario Job Future, you'll directly find the website. There's comprehensive information about jobs in that website. You can search by job title or by NOC code, and it will provide you with information such as employment requirements for a specific occupation, employment growth, wage rate, or even geographical distribution of jobs across the province.
Okay, and we have one other question. I missed webinar number 1. Any chance of getting this one as well? Yes, this one is already on the website that I mentioned previously. It's www.peelhaltonlepc.com, and it's under research, and you can go to that tab, and the webinar is right there, and you can click the link on it, and it's recorded for your reference. Okay, so that's great. Thanks everybody for participating and asking questions. Okay, that concludes today's webinar. We ask that you take a couple of minutes to answer today's exit survey questions and let us know where we can improve and what topics would interest you in the future. Also, we will be sending a follow-up email that will alert you to the on-demand status of today's event so that you can review the material if you missed or simply go over it again. And if you're looking for more local, reliable, and timely labor market information, be sure to visit our sister site, www.workinginpeelhalton. And if you are an employer in Peel or Halton region looking for local talent, be sure to visit the Talent Hub now to hire talent for higher success. On behalf of the entire team at the Peel Halton Local Employment Planning Council, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to view our webinar. My name again is Andrea Lenfesti, and it was a pleasure spending this last hour with you. Have a great day.